Welcome, everybody. I want to welcome you to our non-QM webinar series. We've been spending a lot of time going over kind of the nuts and bolts and how all of our product works in past months and doing our non-QM, but really wanted to dive deep and tell you why non-QM is more than meets the eye and how these flexible solutions can earn you more business. So jumping in, you have myself, Don Chiesa. I run our Western region and oversee a lot of our non-QM product. We also have Cecilia Estrada on the phone. She's our business development manager and does everything training for us with a lot of our business partners out there when it comes to non-QM. And we have Jevin Stafiri on the phone. Everything underwriting as well as product development comes in through Jevin. So we have a lot of great people on this call and wanted to kind of jump in and start chatting with you a little bit about why we believe that non-QM product is something that you should be thinking about and offering to, and thinking about putting your foot forward. Because as you can see here, the market's growing at a tremendous pace, and there's a bunch of reasons why, right? Last year, the business was just over 5%. And so it grew almost 3% to 8% of total originations. And that 8% is really over a 50% increase year over year from July of 2024 to July of 2025. And if you throw in even jumbo, and a lot of this product moves back and forth between those products, jumbo has a lot more criteria that you can't get around. And what you're going to find is that the pricing, and we'll chat a little bit about that in a bit, is very competitive in the jumbo space. And so when you total all that together, it's about 16.8% of the total market. And so I just want to kind of put those numbers and percentages in perspective. Like at 1 out of every 6 borrowers is either in a jumbo or a non-QM loan. And that's a pretty significant number. And so why are we seeing a lot of these partners that are clients? If we go back real quick, one slide, Cecilia, is that there's a lot of underserved clients that are out there, right? Household debt is up another 5% to $8.59 trillion. Just think about that number. That average household debt of $150,000, 50,000 of that is just debt out there that needs to be consolidated. And so the purchase market is relatively flat with, multiple issues that we can chat about on a different webinar. But the purchase market is relatively flat. And how do we open that up? And so if we kind of flip to this next slide, we see a lot of investors out there buying homes, and a lot of self-employed borrowers who don't fall under traditional credit and income guidelines. And so those people are being underserved. And when you start looking at the market and the challenges that we see in affordability and where rates are, we're opening up a lot of these guidelines by coming up with alternative loan products that are competitively priced. Again, that's one of the biggest myths out there. I was just literally having some lunch the other day with somebody, and when we were talking to him about non-QM, he's like, well, all my clients are probably a little bit more price sensitive. And so when I'm looking at a refi, the prices are out there. And so, started chatting with them about some of our products out there. One of them that we call Smart Edge, that's literally because of the differences in LLPAs, or when you start thinking about PMI, that is not on any of these loans, or just in general, the rates are very competitive with the jumbo space. It's not what you think. It's not that higher price product. So I just challenge you all to, reach out to anybody that you have within the Newrez space that can help show you how to price this product out, because it's very competitively priced. If you're in a space that has third-party pricing engines, all of them have non-QM pricing. But if you're pricing a conventional loan, make sure you're also pricing the expanded non-QM product as well. Because a lot of times, if it's an investment property, if it's a cash out property, if you're comparing loan amounts that are above an 80% LTV and you start accounting for MI, you will see that these pricing is very competitive in this space. And so, like I said, I literally got back from a lender fair yesterday, and when I was chatting with some realtors, and I think we even have some realtors on this call, and we were asking them questions around how many of their clients are self-employed and are they having any challenges. They're truly looking for investors out there that can give them more flexibility in qualifying more clients. And we'll chat a little bit more later, but it also allows you to capture those that are maybe playing in not only just alternative income space on the standard loan amounts, but some of those larger loan amounts, because we go up to up to as high as $3.5 million, and there's a lot of business that can be captured here. Alrighty, I'm going to kind of turn it over to Cecilia to talk a little bit about all the things I was sharing on just the flexibility when it comes to these kind of programs.
Yeah, I think
I
I'm actually
Kevin is going to
taking
take
this
this one.
But I guess before I get into some of this, I think this little panel here is twofold here. In the beginning here, we're just going to kind of touch on some of the product highlights, I would say, more in terms of not our product names, but kind of what the products really are. And then later on, we're going to hit on some sales targets, like for how you would use these for actual professions outside of the mortgage industry and how to market to those people. So, and Q&A, it's open. If you have any questions, I'm kind of actively monitoring that as well. So if you have any questions, please just throw it in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them as soon as I can get to them here. But for this, just some qualification methods, how, what our products actually do, what are they used for? First and foremost, kind of is our full doc program that Don touched on earlier. It's just a standard full doc manual underwrite here. Jumbo loan amounts, very important here. Easier than jumbo, more flexibility than jumbo, priced sometimes even more competitively than jumbo here in our full doc program. And where we're seeing a lot of pickup here from volume is on our asset-based portions of our full doc program. Two kind of options here. Our basic one is using asset-based income from a DTI perspective, asset dissipation, asset-based income, however you want to spell it, both, and our asset qualifier product. Qualifier is no DTI, just using assets to qualify, which is a separate product. The good thing is both of them we calculate relatively similar with a 60-month calculation here. The big little difference here that I like to point out is our asset-based income used for DTI. You don't need asset seasoning there, right? So if you have 2 months of bank statements with assets, you can get in that product and use that as income versus our asset qualifier and a lot of other places. That's where the 60-month, 6-month, not 60-month, 6-month look back period plays into space there. So new money, asset-based income, asset qualifier, longer seasoned assets here. Next is our alternative income, kind of 3 different options here. Your traditional 12 or 24-month bank statements are in here. We have a separate 1099 product in here. And then kind of a newer one that we rolled out recently is our profit and loss product, which I'm going to touch on kind of how to use them later on. We do 1 or 2 years self-employed. The 1-year option here is one of our new product enhancements we just had the last few months. And basically all single family property types are here, which cool is gifts. We see a lot of this. Gifts, all occupancy type. So as long as your LTV is below 80, you can have full gift. So investment property, second home, whatever you got there. And DTI is standard kind of up to 50 there.
I think that's a big deal, Jevin, because that's what, we keep talking about similarities to jumbo. I just think jumbo is so rigid when it comes to income, and DTI being under 43, the debt ratios up to 50 are huge. Being able to look at an asset and divide it by 60 to help you make the income work. This is the piece that we keep talking about as we chat later about capturing and interfacing with realtors and qualifying more people for more homes. You need to really look at those little subtleties. And one of the other things that I know we'll touch on here in a bit is all of these non-QM products. And I'm bringing this up because I'm sitting in Denver right now, which is near some of these resort communities, but condo tells, non-warrantable condos, that's something else that you just won't see on the conventional side and jumbo side. And so it just allows you to close more loans.
Exactly, Don. A lot of the products that we have are a lot more, I don't want to necessarily say easy, but they flow so much smoother because our guidelines really allow for us to use so much more. And a lot of the income that Jevin mentioned, like the asset depletion, alternative income, you can use in combination, right? So you can have someone who is a self-employed person using bank statements, but additionally they have personal assets, and you're also going to use asset depletion. So that's really the ease of our products, is that we're able to use a lot of different of these features, a lot of niches, right? It could be a non-warrantable condo. It could also be a jumbo loan, all rolled into one. So these that Jevin just gave you are all of our products that will allow you to work with income using a debt ratio, right? Whether they are self-employed, retired, they have a regular W-2 job, whatever type of income it is, we've got different products for that. But this is all DTI type of loans, right? But we've also got investment products. On all of our products, including our bank statement, our full doc, we're able to do investment properties. But if you really want to hone in on investors and really focus on that, then we've got some really great DSCR products. We actually have 2 DSCR products. Many of you may know them, and we just kind of want to give you a little bit of the highlights here, right? So what we really love about our DSCR products is that whether you're working with someone who's already a super seasoned landlord, someone who's like a little real estate mogul, or you're dealing with someone that, hey, they want to buy a property for the very first time, right? It's absolutely fine either way. You can work with someone who is already a homeowner, already a property owner, whether it's an investment or their primary home. They want to buy an investment property. We can do it super easy and simple with our DSCR products. As you know, DSCR, we're not looking at any income. There's no DTI. Everything is based on that subject property. We allow for non-warrantable condos. We allow for short-term rents, long-term rents, right? Whether your DSCR is covering, you're hitting the 1, right? The 1-to-1 ratio, or even if you're a little bit below that, right? We allow you to go as low as a 0.5, right? So whether it's a 15% down payment, which is much lower than the standard, or the standard, which is 20%. There are so many variables in our DSCR products that will allow for just about any situation and giving you a solution, right? Giving you something that you can work with for your buyer. We've got prepays. Of course, they're optional, but a lot of people like to take advantage of them depending on the state, just to improve pricing there. And of course, interest-only financing. That's one of the biggest pieces that we use to help our borrowers qualify that DSCR, is using interest-only financing, because what they really want is cash flow. And so we're ready for that. You do qualify the DSCR off of the interest-only payment. You don't have to qualify off of the fully amortized like you do on a regular debt ratio loan. So these are some of the things that we really love about our DSCR products. And again, if you look at right in the center, that minimum score that we're looking for, it's not excellent or even good credit. It's still considered fair credit. It's a 660. Don, were you going to say something? I thought you.
Yeah, I think the point you're making here that, just want to make sure it's jumping out to everybody is we can do all of these DSCRs, right? You want to start out with long-term and above a 1% ratio, but if you fall below 1 because you're in a higher kind of home price market where a lot of times your rents aren't going to be able to cover your payments, we do go down to a half. It's just a haircut in LTV. If you are in a market that does more Airbnb, and so you're having to do short-term rentals, again, we can do the deal. It's just a cut in LTV. And as we said earlier, all of our product allows, especially if it's under 80%, 100% a gift. So you just got to make sure you know how to structure the deals. You need to know, ask the right questions. Like you said, we can go down to a 0 prepay, but if you can get a longer prepay, it improves your price. If your loan's struggling to meet your ratio, as you just said, I can go IO. Again, I just came from that realtor event yesterday, and when I would talk to them about if they were doing investment properties, not only did they have investment clients, but a lot of them were looking to get into investments. And so if you're a realtor on the phone, reach out to your originator. If you're an originator, make sure you're chatting with your realtors, because a lot of them are looking to get into this space.
Yes. And I do see some questions in the chat, just kind of wanted to address. Some people were talking about gift. Yes, absolutely. We allow for gift, even on our DSCR products. People were asking about, little things like about the condos and stuff like that. We do have a great condo team. It's called Project Review. They review all of our properties that have a governing board. So whether it's a co-op, a condotel, they will do the review. We do have it in our guidelines that we'd like to see about a 500 square foot property. However, if it doesn't quite meet that, but we've got, some good comps for that property, and we see that that may be typical for the area where it's a little bit smaller, it's something that our condo team can actually look at to see if we can make an exception. So don't discount it. If it's typical for that area, then it might be something that, yes, we can absolutely do. Okay. And just to show you how easy the product works, right? A lot of people ask us, because I know that there's so many DSCR products out there. A lot of people ask, wait, do I still have to show a P&L if I'm closing in an LLC? That's really typical. We get that question quite often. If we're closing in an LLC, do we have to show a P&L for our LLC? No, we don't require any of that. We don't require you to show us any additional assets or reserves, right? Just, make sure you've got enough for that down payment, your closing cost, and the reserves for your subject property. We also don't ask for reserves on the other properties that your borrowers have. So if you've got a borrower that has a really long list of REO, they've got 15 properties, you don't have to worry about all the reserves for those. We only look for our own property for the subject. So we're not asking you for anything for that LLC. We're not asking you for additional assets or reserves. We make it as easy and simple as possible. And many times, right, especially with our purchases, we're able to give you an upfront rental quote for that property. We use something called AirDNA. So it's something that we can pull very quickly for you before you lock, before you submit a loan, before, even that offer was accepted on that property. If you give us an address, we can pull a report on that and give you an idea of what an Airbnb or a Verbo type of rent would be on that property. And that could be something that we could qualify your buyer on. All right. Now we're getting into a little bit more as to who is going to really help you to move this type of business forward. So we have Don and Jevin that are going to lead the way here.
Just again on the Q&A, I see a lot of people are using the chat. I can't answer on the chat. We can only do it verbally. So if you put it in the Q&A kind of at the bottom and ask the question, I'll be able to respond to you individually to get some of these answers if we don't have time to talk about them actually on the call. So moving into kind of some of the sales targets here and who people you can talk to kind of source some of this business here. First, I'm going to hit on the financial advisors, right? Why financial advisors, right? People that generally go to a financial advisor, right? Have complex financials. They have significant assets. They have different income structures moving around, right? So they know these individuals already and they can help you right there when you kind of say, hey, look, this actual product could work for these type of people. The ones that come to mind here are our asset-based programs, our asset depletion, and our asset qualifier, right? High assets, easy to qualify, don't need all the tax returns and the complex financials here. That's a good product to sell there. Of course, the bank statement product, right? The thing about the bank statement product that a lot of people still don't know, even though this product's been around a while, whatever you think the income is going to be when we do the calculation, I always say it's higher, right? The income is usually very high. So you can have a lot of businesses. Don't give us all the bank statements at once for all the different businesses. Start with one, get a calculation done from the team and see how much income you got. And you can make it really easy for both you and, more importantly, the borrower at the end of the day there. Interest-only products, right? A lot of obviously current talk about 50-year mortgages, right? In the news, right? We still have the interest-only 40-year interest-only product, right? That's already here. We have it in this product suite, right? And why a financial advisor would care, right? Is because then the borrower is only paying interest only, more money in their pockets, more money to invest back with the financial advisor, right? So sell it as a win-win to the financial advisor too. And finally, DSCR product. Again, same thing, complex financials. A lot of these people go to financial advisors to help with these type of things. So say, hey, look, DSCR product can help you, not just for this loan. If you have a real estate investor, more loans, right? Get the whole portfolio, a bunch of different loans, repeat business there. Accounting firms is going to be the next one I touch on here. Kind of the same thing, a lot of complex income, right? If you're taking your taxes to a CPA, generally speaking, there's something there that you can't just do them on TurboTax, right? Yourself real quick. So they know about these individuals, right? What first comes to mind here is freelancers, social media influencers, right? They're paid 1099. If you have kids, you know what I'm talking about on the social media influencers. When I grew up, when I was a kid, right, I wanted to be a hockey player, right, or a policeman. Kids today, you know, they all want to be social media influencers, right? And it's huge. A lot of people making a lot of money in it. So that's an idea there. 1099 product. We use a little 10% expense factor without any other documentation about the expense factor. Super easy to qualify there from an income perspective there with no tax returns. Same thing for self-employed borrowers. Makes sense. Going here, same thing, bank statement product. The accountants, right? What they get paid to do is find those write-offs, right? They know their AGI at the end of the day is going to be low or negative. Not going to be able to get a regular mortgage. Get to the bank statement product. A lot of them also know about current financials. So that's where our P&L product could come into play. Maybe the last 2 years, the income wasn't what you would call significant on the tax returns, but they know that they can have a P&L created, right? The accountant can put together the P&L and use our P&L product, and we can use that higher number from the P&L to qualify. And finally, real estate investors. Again, same thing, the accountants, a lot of properties. You're probably going to a CPA to get your returns done. Use the DSCR product for investment products. We see all of our products get submitted with investment properties. And as my team is underwriting the loans, we go, man, this would be so much easier if this was a DSCR product for you, your realtor partners, and the borrower. So make sure we're driving home that DSCR for investments.
And the only thing that I would continue to add on some of that as well, Jevin, is right. On your real estate, you switched over, but on the other side, when it comes to tax preparers, they're always trying to look for an additional deductions, and so they're telling, right, we're not tax advisors, but the tax advisors are looking for other deductions, and one of them is going to be in real estate investment. And so if they start trying to do real estate investment, you want to be a referral source for them. And as well on financial advisors, I think you covered a lot of key things, but what does a financial advisor do? They're trying to invest your assets and they want to have asset preservation. And so again, as I was saying earlier, the agencies in jumbo have a lot of rigid guidelines. And so to be able to use any of that for income, you either need to cash it out or create a distribution. And that's sometimes not what a financial advisor wants to do. So they want to have an originator partner that can help with their asset preservation and let them do what they do well. As in try to invest your money. So again, when you're calling on these people, those are just some key points that you want to make sure you're chatting about. And I know we started to flip to the next page and start chatting about two other great referral sources. And I shared with you earlier kind of the real estate agents. Again, they're just in front of people, but they're also, real estate agents want to know, what are you going to do for me as well? And so this just gives you a better product suite that allows you to qualify more clients for them to allow them to sell more homes. And so as I was sharing with you earlier, I was chatting with some people at a trade show just yesterday, and not only were we talking about trying to serve their clients, but even serve them directly. So you want to try to set up those types of conversations. And if you go back a couple webinars, we had somebody and he said he was able to grow his real estate base because he's able to call and qualify much higher loan amounts with these products. Because as Jevin just shared with you with the accountants, a lot of these people have challenging income or are looking for simpler ways, right? DSCR is allowing you to close a loan probably a week to 10 days faster than a normal loan because you're not having to do the income documentation. Or maybe I'm not debt ratioing for the size home I want to buy. And so I'm able to use a bank statement loan and my cash flow of my business to get me to qualify. Again, real estate agents themselves, as I was sharing with you, not only looking at the DSCR products so they can put in their own portfolio, but them themselves are 1099 employees, and so may need these products as well just to qualify for their own homes. And so that's a great lead in when you're trying to call on real estate agents to add a referral source to your business. And then lastly, right, attorneys, attorneys are seeing complicated situations all the time, right? And that translates into these products, right? You either have a client that's going through a divorce and they're having to separate property that's currently owned. And not only are you having to separate property that they currently own, but there may be now a challenging debt situation because now they're going to be the sole provider trying to qualify for a home and they're having to split up their debt. And so a lot of these programs will give you better solutions because you have assets that you can add and higher debt ratios that allows you to get through things. Or you're trying to dissolve a current business. And so again, debt, some of our asset qualifier business, just having enough assets while you're trying to dissolve a business, debt consolidation, 1031 exchanges, all those programs can be done through here. And we have a lot of access to programs that just wouldn't qualify if you're trying to put them into the rigid guidelines that go along with agency. Not saying that there's anything more than just having more alternatives and flexibility when it comes to looking at income and cash flow. Anything to add there, Cecilia or Devin?
No, sir.
Again, it's all just about understanding the different sources and how you want to stand in front of them and pitch, because a lot of these things that we're sharing with you are these different third parties providing us feedback when people were using these programs.
Exactly.
Or did you?
All right, so just kind of kind of a Newrez tooting our horn here about our process on non-QM. Right. So first, we've had these products, the majority of them, for the better part coming up on 8 years here. So the team is experienced with these products. My team, the underwriting group, right? We have open communication with all of our partners, all of our sales partners. Again, the underwriters have been doing these loans for a long time here with us at Newrez. I know every lender kind of has their own little different quirks with the product, but our team is experienced here. I touched on the bank statement a little bit, the income and how you can get that done up front before you even submit a loan to us. We don't need a loan number. You don't have to register the loan. My team can calculate the income for you before you even send us the loan. And that is the income that follows the loan through the process. So the team doesn't do it up front. And then once the loan comes in, redone it by somebody else. That number, you can feel solid and confident that's going to be the number we use up front. We have a full staff scenario desk that's available for either you or your account executive, depending on where you land here. I know there's a bunch of groups on this call here that's available. So if you got something complicated, not sure if we can do it, call, get the answer, the question answered up front. Right? These are Newrez products, right? That's where the exception piece comes in here. 30% of our loans that we close here for non-QM have an exception completed on the loan, done in-house by me or one of my other leaders. They report up through me. So why I say that is there's no long waits waiting for investor response, right? If you're waiting, that's waiting for me or one of my leaders to review it in-house, and we are very quick. Of course, we want to do good loans, right? So when I say we do loans with exceptions, right, they have good compensating factors, old school, I guess you would call it, underwriting in terms of what those compensating factors are going to be on those exceptions. And of course, right, Don will probably hit on this after I talk about it. I'm going to leave actually servicing for you on us retaining all of the servicing and just some of the tech, right? Everybody's using tech. We have a great piece for our upfront bank statement review that we use. Within 4 hours, you get a calculation back for your income. And we do leverage technology, but there's a guy or a lady behind it looking at the income, right? So it's being done quickly. It's getting looked at, getting thoroughly reviewed. So it is finalized. Again, not just a fast printout. You're actually getting someone behind it there. Loan scorecard is a little eligibility tool we have. It's available in Blueprint. If you're in our wholesale group, it's available in our internal system, operating system. If you're internal, use it. It gives you an idea if your loan's going to qualify. And then we hit on the Air DNA for short-term market rent already on our DSCR product, so I won't hit that. Don, any servicing or anything else I missed here?
Yeah, no, I think the big piece on servicing is I think we're one of the unique, there's a very few that don't like to sell off loans. And we think there's high value in retaining our servicing. It allows our partners to continue to recapture business, not have to have their account bounced around to various people. But then again, as you just said, our flexibility, because again, we're securitizing our own product. Um, that's critical. And then lastly, I'll share with you. There's a lot that we've covered here. Pick up the phone, call your Newrez contact, because whether it's pulling an Air DNA or trying to show you how to price and show you how competitively priced this product is, or the guidelines and LTVs and questions that we're seeing in the chat around DSCR and expense ratios and debt service amounts and amounts of gifts. Like we've seen a lot of these questions in the chat, and don't worry about capturing them all here. Pick up the phone, talk to your Newrez contact, because we believe we have a lot of great things that will allow you to capture more business and increase your earnings potential by just offering these products. All righty. We wrapped up another Smart Series webinar. We appreciate all of you being here, and we look forward to the next one.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.